What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is David Feldman-Makrias, and today what I want to talk about is how to behave at a trade show etiquette, things you should know, the best tips for just being in a trade show, how to network, how to leverage your current network, how to learn what to look for, what not to look for. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, I got to minimize myself here. Loom is so funny. I use Loom actually for video recordings, and it's like when I downloaded the little face thing, it was like, "Did you get a haircut today?" Yeah, Loom, I got a haircut. Whatever. Um, so I want to give you guys the best tips for trade shows. So let's see if it's in my clipboard. Perfect. So these are the four categories. I'm going to do it a little bit differently and hopefully better for you guys. So when you get these notes, it's a little more formatted and bullet pointed out. So first we have presentation. Second, we have know your audience. 3, know your objective. And then 4, the X factor. So let's get right into it. That fourth one's actually pretty good. It served me really, really well and actually has led to some huge increases in overall business. It's not the typical networking either. It's not like your typical things that you can find anywhere else. That X factor is really, really helpful. But we'll get to that in a second. So first, let's go through presentation. What do I mean by presentation? Well, if you're just attending a trade show, because literally I just attended a trade show. Um, if you're attending a trade show and not presenting, what I mean by presentation is style. And this is really applicable to anywhere, but I want to siphon it down to a business sense. So the example is I was attending a trade show for a prospective client. It's not my industry. It's not digital marketing. It's not something that I have been a lot involved in. My two main industries are digital marketing, automotive, because I grew up with it, and then e commerce, online sales, which is similar to digital marketing. This was not that. This was a trade show for a franchise home and garden tool company. I'm not going to name any names, but it just happened here in McCormick Place in Chicago, and the main thing for this was, okay, what am I doing at a trade show? Why am I going to that trade show? Well, I have a prospective client that their trade show is now, and they invited me to go along because the business owner is a little bit new to marketing. They're new to online marketing. They know that it's important, but they're not as well versed, and they're opening up some new product lines and things of that nature, and they know they need to market differently. So this referral, I have a good relationship with, at least on a non-business front. So they invited me in. I would say, yeah, if you can get any trade show access, leverage your current network to get in there and do what I did. You'll meet a lot of really good people, take a lot of good cards, business cards, and at the very least, you can follow up with them to see what's new in the industry. You can leverage job opportunities. You can do a bunch of stuff at a trade show. You can network, all that good stuff. But I want to talk about style. So, when I first asked this person what the dress code is, they said, well, yeah, it's normal. So that's a pretty normal response. But I'm going to blow it up here. I'm still dressed in the trade show outfit. So what I did was I wanted to go as a good, legitimate business professional. It's also summertime in Chicago, and it gets a little bit hot. So I use my regular wearing outfits that I have for other client meetings that I go to often. So it usually encompasses in the summer a nice polo or a nice collared shirt with a button down, and then a sport coat. Tie's not necessary. There's very few events I see a tie really necessary unless it's super formal. Everything's business casual. A lot of the people that went there really just had jeans and some good walking sneakers. But honestly, I want to stand out a little bit. I want to dress to impress. I want to take the level that everybody's at, the average dressing level, and do a couple notches above. If I went in with a suit and tie and pinstripes and all this stuff, and a bunch of jewelry and all this, I would look a little out of place. Now when people see me, they go, okay, this person fits in, but he's elevated the bar, a little more important, so on and so forth. So it really depends on the message you're trying to capture. So collared shirt, nice jacket that fits in the arms, shoulders. Um, I'm wearing some good jeans. I can stand up here too. I'm wearing some good jeans that fit right. Nice dress socks, nice casual shoes, but business ready. Oh, I need more stretching in my life. Nice belt that matches. I like the Apple Watch because it tracks your steps and I can communicate and things like that. Now, I that's not the only thing. Where is my oh, here it is. Where is my handy dandy thing? So, with this, I could wear something like a backpack. A lot of people wear backpacks, but with a more formal look, it doesn't really fit. So, you could do something like a briefcase. I like to be light and quick. So, this briefcase works pretty well. I got this as a present. It's also double bags as a computer case, but I didn't really want this. So, I actually didn't use this today. I use this for meetings when I present, when I got to put my laptop in, so on and so forth. So what I did today is I have this nice zippered folder leather notebook. It's not a notebook, but it's more of a, I don't even know what you call it, and I don't know what the brand is, but it's really nice. It's like a work folder, resume folder thing. It's got some nice pocket stuff here. This isn't really I'm not a style channel, but I just want to show you why I use this for the business application. When I open it up here, oops, when I open it up here, it's got my business card slots. It's got some other slots that I can keep notes in, and then I can see my notebook in a pen holder where I can write some notes. What I typically see a lot of people do, especially in the digital industry, is where or use everything electronic, iPad, screen, so on and so forth. I like a little more of the classic look because this Apple Watch shows in my phone, shows that I'm modern. I'm modern, I'm up to date, so on and so forth. But this actually, writing down notes actually, it gives me a different sense of learning and a different sense of feeling too. And I think it carries a nice message, and shows to other people that too, because a lot of people that you deal with, especially in business owners come from a little bit of a different background. You didn't have technology all the time, so on and so forth. So to have the modern equipment, balanced with something that's a little more versatile. I don't want to say old fashioned, but a little bit. Um, I think it works really well. You look like very sophisticated. Make sure all your stuff is ironed, cleaned, all that good stuff. I promise this is not a fashion channel, but I just want to give that perspective because a lot of it is about the presentation, right? So if I totally stand up, which I did, along with my thing here. So this is pretty much where I'm at. I didn't think the backpack worked. So, I didn't want to wear that. I do have a backpack, but something easy I can put under my arm here, or I can just grab with my hand. It's easy. I can put it on a table, open this, and then, just go ahead, see all my notes, put all my business cards, and then it's real easy. So that's why I chose this. It just made the most sense for me. So that's kind of the complete look. You look professional. You don't look too out of place, but you look like you're on a good level. So rather than everybody else, the sport jacket, I don't know. I just don't see a lot of people using it the same. I think we should. I really do. So that's the presentation. You want to be well groomed, well put together, looking nice, just like anything, right? And have the right accessories, not too gaudy, but not too blank either. That you fit in, you know what the style is, you know what the cue is, and you can elevate that a little bit. So that's what I mean by the presentation. Then that's the aesthetics part, at least. Now, um, let's see what else. You also have to be composed with how articulate you are on the subject. If you're not too articulate, I'm going to say so. Outward aesthetic, didn't spell that right. Spelling's not my forte, obviously. Outward aesthetic, you have to, dress a few notches above the rest. That'll allow you to feel confident. Um, I recommend be light, meaning, you know, wear something that's easy to move around in and versatile to fit standing and writing notes on the go. And it's all preference. I know a lot of people in digital marketing that just write on tablets, put everything up to the cloud. Um, I'm a little more old school sometimes because I feel like it benefits me a bit better. So that's a little bit of the background on style. Um, you also, well, before I move on here, you also want to be aware of, um, let's say, outward aesthetic and then language. Uh, I'll say communication. Which, how you talk, how you present yourself. Are you going to be the leader? Typically, there's a leader when it comes into a trade show as you go in a group. Or you're going to have to follow a little bit more and then learn a little bit more. I was invited to this trade show by somebody else. They got me a pass. I was not the go to person, so I wasn't necessarily the leader. I had to go with the crowd. So, and we had a little group together. So I think it's important to do that too. Know the leader, know the group, and that leads into knowing your audience, right? So, and a lot of this can carry over too. So, knowing your audience would be identifying who the main person of interest is. Who's my main person of interest? I'm interested in the business owner that invited me to the trade show. Why? Because I want to do marketing for them. That's why I'm there. I'm there for them. Okay. Now, oftentimes, like the whole group was also somewhat in this person's orbit, and it's caught up. You can easily get caught up with the dialogue of meeting new people, so on and so forth. But my priority is the person that invited me, the person that is going to give me potential business, the person that I'm going to work for, the person that's going to pay me. That's my priority. My number one priority is to make sure that they felt I am a good representation, b a good representation of what the main person of interest, I'll say for the main person of interest. Um, Also socialize with the entire group right away, if applicable. Right? You want to socialize with everybody. We had a group of 5, and I didn't quite know exactly what the dynamics were, so on and so forth, but I knew that this is kind of the orbit of this business owner. So, I introduced myself right away to everybody, learned the names, talk a little bit, so on and so forth. And then, but I remember that I'm there for the person of interest. If he has a question, even though someone might be talking to me at once, I'm going to break rapport with that person and I'm going to talk to him. It might be rude, it might be whatever, but they're the person of interest. Now, I'm not going to just, totally like, oh, yeah, I'll do whatever you need, blah, 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 blah. That's kind of a little obvious. But in the back of your head, you are there for that specific person. Um, and maybe your audience would be different if you're going to a trade show. Maybe, You are going to a trade show because you're looking for specific clients, and that's your industry. So that would be a little bit different. Mine's a little more unusual, but my goal there was to go with him, go to the marketing sections of the trade show, and then pretty much grill the marketing team and truly understand exactly what they're doing for him and all other franchise owners. Um, and then, being able to do that is a big deal. That way they look at you, they lean on you, and they go, okay, this person knows. Hey, did you get everything you needed out of this person? Hey, did you like what this person has to say? Blah 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 blah. So it's important to socialize with the entire group right away. Getting back to this point, but um, it's okay to break rapport with group or main person of interest. It just is. I know it sounds sucky and it sounds rude, and I get it too because I don't like to be rude. I like to make sure everyone feels good and is included, and everything's inclusive. But you have to do it if you have to do it. So a lot of the times there'll be multiple conversations going on at once. There'll be conversations, whether you're talking to vendors, conversations whether you're talking to within the group itself. There was an instance where, because I wasn't the leader in this situation, there was an instance where our group was following the main person of interest and he was talking to a specific vendor, and then another vendor tries to approach us and kind of tries to steamroll us a little bit, just kind of talks at me, but my body language is super far. We're paying attention to him because we kind of are forced to. And then I recognized that and I just went, hey, thanks for letting me know. However, I'm probably not the right person to talk to. You might want to wait for someone that would be more educated on that. And then he instantly got the message. The group was kind of taken off of that, and then everything flowed smoothly. So that's demonstrating more leadership in communication skills, um, so on and so forth, group dynamics, whatever. So know your audience. If your audience is specific clients, well, then your main goal is to talk to specific clients, right? That's the main objective. So how would you demonstrate that in a trade show? If you're talking to other people, you're talking to your other group or whatever, your main priority is to help with clients and get to know and meet people and leverage your network and grow your network. So it's really important to know your audience as well. Know their sticking points, know their sticking points, know why they are there, etc. Why do most business owners or anybody go to trade shows? They go to network and learn, you know? So I'll put kind of a master bullet point up here. Trade shows are for networking and learning. But in reality, that's the outer part. Trade shows are for selling somebody something. That's the real reality of trade shows. You want to be able to sell somebody something. So that leads me into knowing your objective. So my objective for this example was learn. My first objective, I have multiple objectives. So the primary objective was to um, vet slash investigate current marketing vendors, current and prospective marketing vendors, to aid in the business. My secondary objective was to learn about the industry and then meet and greet slash network. So that was the primary and secondary objectives, at least for me. My end goal is to keep building rapport and establish relationships with my clients. So if that in turn leads me to come in and take that apart, well then I'm going to do that. So knowing that, what's my main priority? My main priority above all else, I'm going to say main priority was for the main prospects business. That's what we're there for. The livelihood of business owners, specifically that business. So, a lot of these trade shows, what they'll do in the example, a lot of them, what they'll do is they'll make all this stuff seem so great, so this, so that, but a lot of them do it for the masses, meaning this is a franchise local business. Okay. So, a lot of what the marketing vendors were saying, marketing vendors at trade shows need to appeal to the masses. Okay. So, if it's a trade show for, the trade show was for a big brand, but there's individual franchises within that brand that are local business, and that's who I'm serving. So, guess what? I'm not going to buy into, you know, uh, don't buy into the everything is so great rhetoric. It's like you have to read between the lines. Read between the lines. For example, they were saying that the business and one marketing vendor had a 724% ROAS, which is return on ad spend, from some of the online marketing efforts that they were doing. Okay, so I started to drill in. How do you measure ROAS? Well, their answer was algorithmically. And the reason I asked that is because it's not just online sales, it's local sales. So they were talking about local inventory ads on Google. So my question was, how do you measure that? Their response was their response. They use algorithm. They build an attribution algorithm, and then they use a arbitrary. This is crazy. Arbitrary multiplication factor of national average order value. So this franchise sells, home and garden equipment. Okay, parts, tools, accessories, whatever. So they measure. Get this. They measure like the click to from the local inventory ad on Google to the actual shop. And then what they do is they find whoever used their device to click on the ad and then go back or then go into the actual store, and then they use some formula. It's an algorithm. They told me an algorithm, but I think it's really a formula. He was just trying to show fancy words at me. Formula in this case that uses the average order value, but they don't use the business's average order value. They use the nation's average order value. Well, guess what? A franchise in California is going to be way different than a franchise in Nebraska. Even if it's marginally different, it's close enough. That's what they told me. No, I don't think so. Not when you're really talking about dollars and cents. If you have 10, 15, 20% difference between different stores on average order value, and that's what you use to calculate your return on ad spend, that's crappy. I hate that. Like, let's get it as close in proximity and measurement as we possibly can. So that's why I was drilling into this guy. How do you measure it? What do you click on? You know, you have to, and because of my experience, I have a good amount of experience vetting vendors and knowing what the difference is between stuff that'll work and stuff that doesn't. So it's easier for me. I didn't have to do a lot of preparation. I come in as the expert. But if you're currently not the expert, that's okay. You don't necessarily have to know everything, but think about it from a holistic business point of view. I ask the questions that were really, really imperative to the business success. And they say they claim measurement of return on ad spend. Well, how does that work? Because you can't track so easily a sale from someone clicking on an ad to coming in the store and making a purchase, and that's what they claim to do. I know that that's a disconnect. When you're talking about return on ad spend, you can more easily identify that with online purchasing because it's all done online. But they weren't doing that. They're saying return on ad spend from the actual store, or driving local inventory ads to the store. And I went, how do you take credit for that though? Like you can't just take all the credit for that. Plus, everybody doesn't use one of these. Okay. A lot of people do. I see traffic trends 70-30 mobile desktop, 65-35, 80-20. I mean, I see the majority using mobile, but not everybody does. So you're missing out on some attribution there as well. Plus, not everybody that clicks that and then comes to the store and buys necessarily should be a conversion, but that's what they're using to count everything. So these are the types of questions and dialogue that the business owner wanted me to talk about. They wanted me to get into because they are not as versed in this, but they know they need it. They understand that they need it, because it's very, very important. So that's why, going back to our example here, know my objective. I knew that my primary objective in there was to vet and investigate current and prospective marketing vendors to aid in the business. I wanted to drill down and see the validity, where the stopgaps were, and what I can do for not only the franchise, all the franchises, which is what the trade show vendors were talking about, but specifically the locations of the business owner that is my main point of contact. That's my goal. Secondary objective, sure, I want to learn about the industry because I don't know a lot about the industry. But it's so funny. The more I get involved with multiple industries, a lot of them are pretty much, they act the same. There's so many similarities and trends that are applicable to, let's say, automotive, to well, if it's lead gen, it's very, very applicable. Automotive, trying to get leads. Um, you know, selling the difference is, like a lead gen when you're doing B2C, business to consumer, and you're selling a product, right? When you have all those check boxes, it doesn't matter what industry, a lot of the same logic applies. Now, if you're selling, you know, courses online, let's say there's a trade show for courses online, well, then, it might be a little bit different as far as what you need to look at. So that's why it was more so easy for me. If you don't exactly know everything about the trade show, you want to do some more homework, do it ahead of time. It'll be really, really beneficial if you do. So, that's the big key about knowing your objective. I also like to stay as neutral as I possibly can. Stay neutral, but balance it out by asking polarizing questions. So I like to be positive, like everything's a positive. One thing I find a lot is balancing the different personality types of the group, or vendors, or trade show members. You know, there were some people that had snarky attitudes, and these were more so on the client side. This was part of the group. Part of the group. There were positive, upbeat people. These are the trade show members, vendors. And what are they doing? Trying to sell me something. So just know their objective too. But stay as neutral as you possibly can, because you're there to learn. You're not there to pick a fight or win an argument or whatever. You want to ask polarizing questions that are direct, straight to the point, cut out the fat. Like, hey, what is ROAS? How do you attribute that? You ask those hard questions. And if you don't know what the hard questions are, well, then you need to do some homework. So this video is getting longer than I thought. So finally, the X factor. What's the X factor? I learned this on my first trade show. I don't even know, almost a decade ago. Um, and it was specifically for the automotive sector. And I was pretty new. I didn't know what I was doing, but I did make one observation, and I told my mentor this at the time, and he actually validated it and agreed. And I've utilized this technique at every trade show I possibly can, and every networking event that I possibly can. So the X factor is there's all different types of vendors, right? And the vendors are differentiated by the space they buy in the trade show. And that shows how much money, success, so on and so forth they have. If it's a large exhibit, it's usually a big company. This is typical. This is in general. It's not necessarily one size fits all, but this is what I found. It's a large exhibit. It's usually a big company, lots of resources, lots of salespeople. But I find big companies, especially in today's market, to be slow moving, antiquated, and not as powerful as they may seem. Okay, that's just typically what I found. A lot of vendors will kind of try and woo you, like, look at all of our success here, look at this, look at that. But I always get the feeling on the big vendors, you're just another number. Because I've worked for big vendors before. I have $20 billion company, Cox Automotive. I've been to those trade shows. All those salespeople are doing is counting dollar signs above the business unit's head. That's what they're doing. That's the game. So this is the secret. Okay. The X factor is if you really want the most cutting edge, if you really want the most cutting edge, um, new ideas, technology, solutions, fill in the blank. Here it is. Go for, how did I word this? The great stuff is the two nerds with the new booth in the back of the show. Oh, it's so true. Go for, I'm going to put that in here. Go talk to the two nerds with the new booth in the back of the show. I know it sounds funny, okay? But these are the young, scrappy people, women, men, whatever. These are the young, scrappy people that are different from the big guys. They are different from the big companies. They typically are more passionate about the product. They're going to want to develop a further and longer lasting relationship with you slash the business owner. They typically have state of the art technology that most people don't even know yet. You know, that's why, because the big ones are kind of more on the sales. The corporations want to just sell, sell, sell. With the smaller companies, I call it the two nerds in the back of the room or the back of the show. Those are the guys or gals that have the cutting edge. They're on it. They live, eat, breathe, sleep this stuff. They're just trying to come up and make their presence known. They're more hungry. So all of that is exactly what I love, being a small business owner as well, because you have to have that to be successful. You have to claw, you have to scrape, you have to this, you have to that. Even though maybe they're not personable, or maybe they're not presented well, or maybe they have a small booth. Oh my God, you go for those people. I'm telling you, I've gotten some of the best ideas from just the two nerds in the back of the room that nobody's really going to, nobody's paying attention to, because guess what? They've been vetted. They have enough capital that they're worth it to buy the space and market their product, which actually is good. So here's some qualifications. Why? I'm gonna go why qualifications. They have enough capital and knowledge to be in the room. So they've already established some sort of presence. They're in the room. Um, Also, they have enough capital and knowledge to be in the room. Also, uh, they're typically more hungry. Their product is better because smaller businesses start off having to be extremely agile. Typically are more passionate about the product, which I mean, the product, service, whatever. I mean that will only be a value to you. That's the best value. So, and I'm all about the value. So, the two nerds in the back of the room, those are the ones that will get you to those new ideas, the ones that aren't really glamorized yet by the pretty sales girls or pretty sales guys, and the big booths and the big pamphlets and all that stuff. Those are the ones that are on the cutting edge, that because they have the agility, they demonstrate more hunger, so on and so forth. So that really is the X factor. um, all right, so hopefully this video helped you guys. Let's kind of review here. So best tips for trade shows: presentation, know your style, know your outward aesthetic, your communication, how you're going to behave, so on and so forth. Always do it a little bit above, but not too much above the standard and everybody else. So that way you stand out in a positive way. Know your audience, right? Whoever it is, whether you're there to meet clients, whether you're there to network, whether you're there for a prospective business, so on and so forth. Know your audience. Know your objective too. What are you there for? Are you there to get new clients? Are you there to get main prospect, or to capture the main prospect's interest for your business? Are you there to learn? Are you there to investigate? Are you there to do a whole bunch of things? And if you are there to do a whole bunch of things, what are the main ones? And even write it down. I just knew in my head my main priority was the main prospect's business, and my primary objective was to investigate other vendors. Secondary was to learn and network and meet and greet and so on and so forth. But I'm there for that client. I was only there for a little while, hour and a half. Did what I needed to do, made the appearance, had the, what do they call it? Shake hands, kiss babies, all that good stuff. And I gave you a nice example about marketing vendors. And then finally, the X factor. This is so, so key. And I love doing this, talking to the nerds in the back. I was able to talk to a few in the example that I went to this morning, and got some key insight about business to business, specifically for this franchise rather than business to consumer. I don't know how we're going to apply it yet to marketing, but more solutions on that to come. A couple other bonus tips too: take notes. Write notes. If you got to take a break, write some notes down, take a break, and then go back in. So that way you're not going to remember everything, because it's kind of like a high, this and that. As soon as you're done with something, get over, take some notes, even if it's like 3 bullets. That's it. What are the main 3 takeaways from that conversation to kind of help you condense your thoughts? So, but yeah, 2 nerds in the back of the room. All right, guys, hope this helped for best tips for trade shows. Again, my name is David Feldman-Makrias. If you like this, please give me a thumbs up. Give me some comments. Love your interaction. I know I don't get enough of it, enough of human interaction. I barely get sunlight enough, which people tell me. So let me know what's going on, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Till then, take care.